And welcome back to another UNC football recruiting podcast here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you're checking us out on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I am THI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me is our very own Miss Deana King, who also is the publisher at NCPreps.com. She does a ton of work over there and a ton of work with us. She's always working just like I am, and that's one of the reasons that we make such a good Deana, because we're always grinding. And the purpose of this podcast is the class of 2023 Rivals 100 came out, and we want to kind of discuss it a little bit, not so much where the kids are, but just sort of the realities surrounding these rankings and these kids and what people that evaluate have not been able to see and what hopefully they will be able to see over the next few months, because as everything else has been, one of the casualties of the pandemic, or things affected by the pandemic, has been recruiting in all sports. So 2023 Rivals 100 came out. One kid from North Carolina, and I think 6 of the kids in the top 100 so far have been offered by UNC. And before you comment, let me make clear, UNC is kind of now just launching into its 2023. And since the Tar Heels are going to take a small class in 22, we think they're going to really hit 23 hard this spring and summer, especially if all the camps are held on campus. They're going to have 6 or 7 on site in Chapel Hill camp. So they're going to probably look at a ton of 23 kids when all that stuff opens up. So go ahead and take it from there.
Well, you mentioned 6 UNC targets that I know of in the Rivals 23, class of 23 top 100. I'll start with the in-state kid, Christian Hamilton. He's a wide receiver from Hickory Ridge. Hickory Ridge is in Harrisburg, just northwest part of Charlotte. So he's in that region that UNC is wanting to keep being strong in. Hamilton played on that Carolina Stars network 7-on-7. So he's used to playing with a lot of Carolina guys, Drake May, Dontavius Nash, Gavin Blackwell, and those guys. So he's a 4-star. I believe he's number 55, and the only North Carolina kid right now in that top 100. And of course, this is going to be fluid because, like Andrew mentioned, with Rivals camps just starting up and the ability to watch some of these kids in person is very important. And so, yes, I expect some guys to possibly move into that group once the camp season and the evaluation with Rivals. Our region is usually covered by Adam Friedman, and he knows a lot of those kids. So Christian Hamilton, 55th in the Rivals 100.
Before you go any further, and they're only doing a 100 right now, in part because they haven't been able to evaluate the way that they want. So if they did a 250 right now, which would be, this was usually when the 250 for that class would start coming out around this time here in the spring. There are other kids from North Carolina you think?
Yeah, there'll be.
So before you go,
about 6 or 7 that I know have a really good.
Well, before we talk about the other kids that are in the 100 that are offered, once you roll off the in-state kids, you think that would either be in the 250 for sure, or certainly be strong candidates to get into the 250 at some point.
Tad Hudson, quarterback from Huff, he's really good. I mean, he's in that Carolina Star network too. He works with Anthony Boone, and got to give a shout out to Anthony Boone. He's got 2 really good quarterbacks in Coach Phil Longo's stable down there at UNC with Sam Howell and now Drake May. So Tad Hudson, he's got a lot. He started getting offers at really young age and stuff. So got a lot of Power Five offers. Athlete, I mean, this kid, I'm going to just define him as athlete because there's so many teams looking at him at one position on offense, and some teams are looking at him on defense, and that's Rico Walker out of Hickory High School. I've seen him at our VTO camps, and I believe deep down he really wants to play wide receiver, and he's every camp he goes to, he goes to the wide receiver part. I've heard people say, man, he'd be a great linebacker, maybe a hybrid defensive end type, but he always finds his way to the wide receivers.
But before you go any further, I remember last summer when you had one of your VTOs, and I think it was VTO in the Charlotte area. Forgive me for not remembering exactly what the complex was, but I think that was one where he went there, and I remember him telling you something like that he was determined that he was just going to play wide receiver that day. And you're like, Andrew, well, I'm not going to do your accent this time. Well, okay, I will. Andrew, I'm telling you, he can play wide receiver too. He can burn.
He's his Twitter handle pretty much says it. It says 6'4" specimen. So he
is, but that's accurate. He's awfully impressive.
Yeah, he's really good, and no disrespect, but he's a guy that I can see his stars. I don't know what he's going to be ranked or anything, but he's the type of kid that I can see climb the ladder a lot. And it's still early in the process of his recruitment. I know North Carolina and South Carolina, the old staff at South Carolina was one of the first ones to offer, and he's gotten some more. I know Louisville, Gunnar Brewer has kind of been recruiting him hard. His dad played in the SEC, so there's a lot of ties with him coming from a football family. And then I'm going to go down towards the east. Kid that I've seen a lot at a lot of the camps. He went to just about every camp, and that is Keith Sampson Jr. I believe he has around 6 offers. South Carolina, Virginia Tech, I believe. He's on Carolina's radar, but right now, still the early evaluation process and going to camps, and Carolina staff is getting to evaluate these kids in game time situation. Excuse me. So, he can
on film. They can't see him in person. They can see him.
Yeah, on film.
Which is a lot more than they could in the fall, which is
yeah,
part of what we're going to talk about here in a few minutes.
So, he could get an offer, when if Carolina even gets to have their very important camps on campus where they could get some of these kids and see them in person. Seeing a guy on tape is all good and everything, but seeing them in person, seeing them how they interact with their teammates, seeing if they're a leader out there, if they're encouraging their teammates, that goes a long way, and you can't really see that on film and everything. I'm trying to think of some others. Of course, there's always going to be somebody emerges in Charlotte and in possibly Raleigh and stuff. But right now, those 3 right there are some kids to keep an eye on.
Now, a lot of people get really worked up over these rankings, and I would say temper your concerns if you don't think there are enough North Carolina kids listed or enough North Carolina targets listed, or whatever the case may be. In North Carolina and Virginia, for example, which is the 2 heaviest bases that UNC recruits, almost all of the schools are playing right now here in the spring. So there wasn't much for the staffs to go by from the fall. As you just alluded to, They can't see them in person. All they have is tape to go by. It's really essential for these 2023 kids for camps to open up. Now I know Rivals has a camp series this spring. They got cut short last year. I think they had a couple out west. Maybe they got to St. Louis or Chicago and had one, and that was about it. But the one in Charlotte did not occur last year, and there's not going to be one this year. They've reduced the number of camps. So the one for kids from this region that we're in that would more than likely want to go to is in Atlanta. And it also happens to fall on the same weekend as Carolina's spring game, and high school football will still be going on. So we don't expect a lot of the North Carolina, Virginia kids to get evaluated even at the Rivals camp. They're going to have to hope for, the schools, like Carolina has its camps every summer. They couldn't last year. It used to culminate with the Freak Show. Now it's Showtime, Mac Brown Showtime camp, which will be really important. If they can get 6 or 7 camps, they could have kids on hand, that will change things. The kids can be evaluated. You'll be at those. Adam will be at some of those. He would come to the Showtime for sure. And the other schools would have those camps, plus stuff like the VTO that you're involved in. There's a lot going to be the game day academy camps up in Virginia Beach that Coach Glover's involved in. So those are going to be essential for these 2023 kids. And a lot of them, even on film, there's only so much you can do. They're going to have to make their jumps, and they're going to really have to break out this summer, I think, when they have all these opportunities to visit a lot of schools. And I'd be willing to bet you 2 years ago, there may have been 50 or 60 kids at a day camp. I bet you this year they're going to have 100, 120, 130 at camps, not just at Carolina, but everywhere in the Power Five and even some of the non-Power Five, the bigger non-Power Five programs. We're going to have a ton of kids there because they need to compete and they need to be seen. And that's going to be essential for this group.
While I was listening to you, I did think of 2 other kids just recently offered in-state kids. Jarrell Jarrett from Greensboro at Ben Smith. He's a lineman. I don't know. They told when I did the article on him, they said they would play him wherever he did the best, and he's a OLDL. It's like 6'6", and he's going to be a monster there in a hotbed of talent down there in Guilford County in the Greensboro area. And then down towards your way, Roseville's wide receiver Noah Rogers, who picked up his first offer. Jarrett's first offer was UNC. Rogers' first offer was from UNC. He's now picked up 3 or 4 more, State, West Virginia, Penn State. We'll run something on him. Got a piece coming on him. But he's a wide receiver, like 6'3", 190, 195 pounds.
Yeah, once the dam broke with Carolina's offer, he got a flurry of them there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that kind of happens. And I think that's what we're going to see with a lot of these 23 kids. A lot of schools aren't really sure because they haven't seen a ton. A lot of times the only video on these kids was from a year and a half ago. They're starting to get some stuff now. But even now, there's limitations with coverage at these games. There's limitations on where the cameras can be. So I'm going to go back to this late spring and summer. It's going to be essential. There's going to be a lot of camps, and I have a feeling that we're going to be pretty busy on a lot of weekends. You're going all over the place, Miss King.
I have no.
So is Jacob. I already told Jacob he's going to have to go to Myrtle Beach and Virginia Beach a couple of times, and I don't think he's crying too much over that.
I'm not going to have an off season because high school football here in North Carolina in the spring, state championship is over in the first part of May, and then the VTO camps are going to start up, and I'm going to have them. They're going to be all May, and then it'll be by the time all these other camps and college camps and other stuff, it's going to be time to start high school football, the fall version of 2021. So how do you think these 22 and 23 and 24 kids are thinking about, man, I'm going to have at least, 7 games in North Carolina, and maybe 4 rounds of playoff, 4 or 5 rounds of playoffs.
It's too much.
Maybe turn around and play a full season in the fall. So Travis,
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think people thought it through very much back in the fall. And then are they gonna have a regular full season in the fall, or is there gonna be a shortened season as well?
I think the plans are for a full season.
Okay, well, if you play 11 games this spring and then you play 15 in the fall, that's 26 football games in a span of about 10 months. I don't know. University of North Carolina does a lot of studies about concussions and everything else and head trauma with the sport. Now, I'm not going to go off on a tangent here. I don't think that's ideal. It'd have been better for everybody, I think, at least from a football perspective. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff. That's not what we do here. It would have been better if the kids could have played in the fall. It would have made recruiting a lot easier. Some kids are going to miss out on opportunities because of the way things have shifted. So, but it is what it is. You're going to cover it. You're going to be on top of it. You're going to be all over this stuff in the summer. You will get some time off. I'll see to it. You get a couple of days off. I've had 3 days off since July of 2018. I've worked every day except 3 since then. So I'm actually taking time off after spring practice. Can't wait. I don't know what it's like.
Our audience sees what a typical conversation between, Andrew and Jacob and the staff. We'll start on something we get kind of off subject. So I won't get back on the subject of the Rivals 100, if that's okay, Andrew.
That's fine.
So
the Rivals 100 is what it is. I mean, it's the kids are out now. A lot of them haven't been thoroughly evaluated, so they had to get something out. They're all great players that are in there, but there could be some movement as you're talking about. Plus, there'll be a 250 at some point this summer, and I look forward to that. And Adam and all those guys are going to get a chance to get out and see a lot of kids, and I can't wait to see what their evaluations are.
Well, Carolina, they've got some offers out to some of these top kids, and number one, and it could change. I mean, like I said, it's fluid. LeBeus Overton, a big, outstanding defensive end from Milton, Georgia, who also is a big-time basketball player, because he's the one that kind of, when the offer came out, when Carolina offered, he was like, dual offer. But I don't know about actual offer, but I'm sure that Mac has kind of told him, he knows about the basketball program.
Well, Mac loves basketball. He loves having football players who play basketball. There's no doubt about it. They're all over the roster right now. We saw a bunch of them at practice last Saturday. What else you got on this? Because I'm looking forward to seeing the 250 come out this summer.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a text, and I'm going to say, okay, 250 is coming out in a few days. I want you to predict the number of in-state kids that will be on it, and we'll see if you get it right, then I'll get you something.
Well, then I'm going to call Adam and
No,
tell
you can't cheat.
I'm going to call Adam, and give my input.
No cheating. Yeah, there you go. Give your input.
But Overton, number one, Carolina offered him. He's got the who's who of offers and everything. Another one that Carolina offered, and this name, number 3, his last name is Manning. So you can just imagine what position he plays. So, hey, Coach Longo, he offered one of the best. So,
he's got those Ole Miss ties. He got a little Ole Miss blood in him too, so that helps.
So he's another one that Carolina a target, and he's ranked number 3. Number 50th player, offensive tackle TJ Shanahan. We did a article on him. He got offered UNC a couple of months ago. Big offensive lineman out of Florida. I mentioned 55 Christian Hamilton, the in-state kid, and then around the, I believe, 80th, another name that Tar Heel fans should recognize, Downs, Caleb Downs. Josh Downs is younger brother who plays safety
And
out
if you
of
don't know
Georgia.
who Josh Downs is, and you're a Carolina fan, you don't remember the
You want
Orange
to
Bowl,
know it.
you'll know it by the end of September.
And
Trust
I forgot around 61, Alex Birchmeyer, big offensive tackle from Virginia that
me.
Carolina
We had
offered.
something on him a few weeks
So,
ago.
6 kids right now. I'm sure that list will kind of increase because like we've discussed this whole podcast, it's just getting film and evaluating these kids, because that's pretty much what they
It's
got
just
to do.
essential. Yeah, it's just essential. And I'm looking forward to it for these kids and these staffs because they're going to get a lot more. They're going to know where things stand in each class a little bit more here in the next few months. So she's Deana King. I'm Andrew Jones. As always, good stuff, my friend. And I'm telling you, if you could predict the number of kids in state that make the 250, I don't know what it is. I'll get you, but I'll get you something. So it won't be very expensive because I'm not rich.
5.
5, okay.
On
Well,
record, just say
you're on
5.
record right now saying 5, but I'll give you a
Got
chance.
one right now, so
When
I
we know
think
it's coming out, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a couple days, and you got to let me know 24 hours before it's released. And you're not allowed to talk to Adam. I'll tell Adam he can't give you any hints, and then we'll figure something out from there. So that'll work, right?
I said 5.
Okay, you're going with 5 right now. She's Deana King. I'm Andrew Jones. Everybody knows. Hold her to 5 in the 250 when that's released this summer, and you guys will see me go broke trying to pay up. So thanks for stopping by. Check out our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com, $8.33 a month. You can get access to absolutely everything that we do in football, basketball, recruiting, and we cover the Tar Heels wherever they go, we go. Thanks for stopping by again.